Around 1976, 50 years ago, Mr. Indoo Shivdasani, a Cambridge-educated and successful entrepreneur, asked a few simple questions. Questions that would go on to create a legacy of transformative support for the arts, education, and social impact in India. He asked, "Why were you born? How have you been helpful to other human beings? How have you served God in this world? After all, you have the mind and the choice to help others." What I find most appealing about the original vision of the founder, Indoo Shivdasani, is that he wanted other young Indians to have his kind of experience. Because when he went to Clare College, Cambridge, he felt that that experience was life-changing for him.
If you can identify outstanding talent and allow that individual the opportunity to be immersed in a different culture and interact with a world-class faculty and mingle with a peer group from all over the world, that whole experience will broaden their horizons and be transformative to them as a human being. And that, I think, in some ways, is the essence of what my father was trying to do.
I won the Inlaks scholarship in 2001 to study a master's in vehicle design at the Royal College of Art in London. You know, the scholarship, it gave me access to the best automotive design college in the world. But more than that, it gave me access to a city called London.
I basically thought that this is the one and only opportunity I will have ever to go abroad, and I must make full use of it. So, which is why my every vacation that I had was spent in going into museums, and in that museum I would be the first one to enter and the last one to exit.
I would wake up sometimes, in my bed and on Manor Road, and I would wonder, how did this happen? How am I here? It seemed like magic, really. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't got this really providential scholarship, which it was really like a dream. I mean, there's nothing else I can say about it.
I felt like someone has trusted me with this incredible scholarship. I just can't have fun. I refuse to have fun. It's very stupid, In hindsight, I lived it with a kind of a puritanical, a zest, because it was unbelievable that someone did what they did for me.
I remember walking into the room for my final interview, and one of the panelists kind of prompts me to show a video that I had created as part of my design course earlier. And so I open up my laptop, right? As soon as I open up my laptop, the laptop says, Windows is installing updates. Wait, do not shut down your laptop.
I was actually quite surprised by the number of, the size of the interview panel, right? There were almost, I think, a dozen people in that room, and some of them were immediately recognizable, right? There were some famous people there.
There were a lot of very active debates. I think that's the part of the interview that I recall very clearly, was that there were a lot of interesting conversations about me having strong opinions about something in my field, and then someone interjecting on that and going back and forth.
And I remember I got stuck on this one answer, and then one of the interviewers, who happened to be Veer Sanghvi, saved me by saying, "Why don't you do a little performance for us?" So I remember I did Lady Macbeth's soliloquy, and yet there's a spot.
Candidates are so young, young, inexperienced, and understandably rather nervous because the stakes are very high. A lot depends on this hour that they spend with the jury, and that hour can actually transform their lives. So you try and draw them out, you try and understand who they are, what are their passions, what are they seeking, whether for themselves, for society, for the world, what is it that moves them and drives them, and what is distinctive about them.
In my experience of being on the panel, this was the best ever.
You always say that.
We changed the crowd.
It gets better every year. Right.
In the early years of the Inlaks Foundation, no one could have imagined what it is doing today. Among the core values that have guided the Inlaks scholarships through the years has been that it welcomes a diversity of points of view, diversity of people, diversity of personal aspirations. The scholarship has always tried to be as inclusive as possible.
I am Jasmine. I am from a small village, Abun, in Fazilka, in Punjab state. Coming from an agriculture family in a small town, so going to Netherlands and studying in world's #1 agriculture university is a great privilege for me. I aim to bring back the innovative technology of vertical farming from Netherlands to India so that the pressure on our agricultural lands can be decreased.
People with huge disadvantages, but with huge talents, who have come forward, and their lack of cultural or social capital has never inhibited the Inlaks Foundation from recognizing that talent, recognizing those gifts, and awarding grants.
I think the legacy of the Inlaks Scholarship is to the pursuit of excellence. That it is not just a scholarship to enable people to go abroad, but also to look at people who have already made a contribution, already done something that is of value.
It was a very personal thing, it was very familial. So they knew you, the whole family made an effort to know you. And they would make these decisions. It was not at all bureaucratic, it was familial. I think that's another thing that made the Shivdasani family very special.
When I think about Mr. Shivdasani and Mrs. Lakshmi Shivdasani, and I think the two people who thought about this idea about investing in young people to go abroad, broaden their horizons, come back and actually build the nation. And now 50 years of that, of Inlaks scholars, across different disciplines.
It's incredible. It's incredible who the fellows are and what it means for India to have these people amongst us. And I'm not talking about myself here, I'm talking about the people I met actually across the generations. And actually it's an interesting word. Even that time, even I was thinking that this is a legacy.
If my father could see where we are today, I'm sure he'd be pleased. I think the vision he had behind the foundation was important to him. It only happened at the end of his life, but it was something which he was responding to. There were people like myself who had been inspired by his vision. He'd had the impulse, and there was something about that impulse which was important at that time, and which we responded to. And I was determined that that flame that at that moment could have flickered and gone out should not be extinguished. Over the last 50 years, what makes Inlaks exceptional is that even though we are a professionally run organization, we have an office, we have processes. At the same time, however, we are a family, and the foundation is rooted in the family. My late mother, Lakshmi, and my late sister Beena They in some ways were the heart of the foundation. They were incredibly hospitable and never lost an opportunity to open their houses to the scholars. Then of course there was my late brother-in-law, Count Niccolo Cesare Montelucci, who was the executive director of the foundation for at least 25 years. Niccolo was exceptional in the way that he cared for the scholars and went out of his way to make the scholars feel that Inlaks was there for them. Over the last 50 years, there have been many remarkable individuals who have been involved with the foundation, both with the selection process as well as policies and governance of the foundation itself. Two friends of my father's from Cambridge who helped him in the early days formulate the vision of the foundation, Narottam Sehgal and Rajeshwar Dayal. The first generation of trustees were Sir Colin Lucas, Ranjit Bhatia, and Professor Veer Chowan, who is still a trustee of the foundation. Not too many years after that, the board was joined by Veer Sanghvi and Sudhir Anand. When talking about people who've been important to the foundation, I'd also like to mention Amita Malkani. With Amita as executive director, the level of pastoral care the foundation showed to each individual recipient was exemplary.
A scholarship is truly them believing in the potential of a person that the world yet doesn't know. Because the change that it brings is not visible to the naked eye, and the validation is not immediate. I mean, that's the thing with learning and education. It takes time. To be able to do this for 50 years and to continue to be able to do this, it's really like a monolith, you know, which I hope it just survives and grows strength by strength every year.
I sometimes wonder, in what I've done in the last 49 years, would I have made the founder proud? Would he think, now this is the kind of person I wanted to support? I don't know.